Why can't we become the city that people visit and learn from us?
Speed. Got it? Okay.
You're such a good role there.
Hello from Hong Kong. Welcome you all to the World City Festival. We are exploring our extraordinary times through design. In particularly, how the use of design thinking helps shape our future and redefining Hong Kong. My name is Edmund Lee, Executive Director of Hong Kong Design Centre, which is a publicly funded organization with a mission to promote wider and strategic use of design and to cultivate design thinking in the community. As we all know, the world order is primed for a big reset, and Hong Kong, like many economies, is exposed to all-round challenges. And while the situation may give people uneasiness, it also gives a chance for cities to relieve enterprise and creativity. And cities need new attributes, new dynamics going forward. And we need to be agile, be creative, and innovatively make progress in times of uncertainty. And design provides the people-centered faces and lends empathy towards framing and problem solving and effecting meaningful innovations. So joining me in the panel today, we have Yan Ning, founder of Fabrick Lab, a materialologist. So you'd like to describe yourself, your company as an innovation lab.
That's right.
Focus on expanding the boundaries of textiles. We certainly love to learn more from you in a minute. Jonathan Cummings, Greater China President of Landor Fitch Group. I understand is probably the world's largest design and brand consultancy agency. And yourself have been in Asia for how many years? 12 years.
12 years now, yes.
Well, welcome you to this panel. And then Sarah, the co-founder and design director of One Bite Studio, headquartered in Hong Kong. And I love this, specializing in interconnecting people and making places. So welcome you all to this panel. So can you help to define design? Maybe start with you, Jonathan.
Design really is a process for finding solutions to problems or creating new ways of doing things. And I think design thinking has become a very common term within organizations in particular. It's no longer just the domain of people who sort of technically identify themselves as designers, whether that's graphic designers or any other form. It's a process now that enables an entire organization, from the IT department to the HR department and everybody else, instead of thinking of themselves in individual silos.
I think for me, design is a methodology of thinking, as a way how we can think creatively to find solutions for problems. I think that's why during COVID time, people are thinking creatively and they design their own way around as to solve the problem that they have.
I quite enjoy being a designer when we are actually facilitator. We may not be the one who make all the decisions, but we are the one who could spot the problem and then to think around the problem to find the most appropriate solution. Because I think design is as a combination of three components, I would say, like need, desire, and also findability. So I think that's a nice balance of how we actually approach design, and I think that's an ability of all designers that they can actually embed in themselves.
Right, right. Let's start off by looking at some of the changes that Hong Kong as a city is facing. With major infrastructural investment in the city, connecting it with the neighboring Greater Bay Area and economies, coupled with a strong push of innovation and technology, design, what are the overall design challenges that we're looking at here?
It's been a difficult year. It's been a challenging year, in Hong Kong in particular, but all over the world. And I think when we talk about cities in the kind of broadest sense, that the world's great cities like Hong Kong are kind of like living organisms. They're consistently evolving, consistently moving forward. And I think when you have periods like this where when we have challenging times, you see the strength of a city start to come through in how it acts, how it reacts to some of these challenges. It's times like this from a design perspective, when design plays such an important role in helping meet those challenges. And I think in a city like Hong Kong, where we have so many talented people from so many walks of life, from so many parts of the world coming together, it's brilliant. Despite the fact that times are very hard for a lot of people, it's great to see the innovation and the collective response to the challenges that we face.
I think, there's a lot of challenges we're facing as a designer, but before we talk about the challenges, I think that's something really interesting been happening in the past 6 months since COVID started. A lot of people travel less. That means actually we get more chance to sort of reflect and as creative to meet more local creatives, because in the past years everyone's been really focused on the overseas work, traveling, get to absorb what they see overseas. So actually the past 6 months been a great time for everyone to come together from what they've learned from overseas and work together collaboratively. And it has brought on a lot of new ideas onto the tables of actually as Hong Kongers, what can we offer back into the city? Because all the energies were going outwards before, but now it's actually happening inside Hong Kong.
So Sarah, how about yourself? As a designer, particularly you're onto creative placemaking and designing, the better places, spaces, for the community. So, what challenges do you see as we go forward?
I share similar views with Elaine and Jonathan, but in another way, I found, though we're having a lot of challenges, but there are more opportunities than before, because as we said, the city has to stop. So everyone starts to have time to think about what are the spaces around them, because people don't want to stay indoor anymore. They think, okay, maybe I should go outside, so we start to go hiking, we start to review what our open space should be, how should we actually enjoy outdoor. I think that actually changes Hong Kongers' behavior, because I guess before the COVID, we always like to stay inside a shopping mall, but now everyone prefers outside. So it's actually a very, I would say, a golden opportunity to look at the design for our public space and how we should actually do placemaking. So I think the need or the voice from the community has been stronger for a better space. And I think for designers' point of view, I think that's a good way forward, in fact.
So we're talking about redefining Hong Kong, okay? Now, knowing that design is always work in progress, okay? And of course, COVID actually catalyzed a lot of changes, including rapid adoption of technology. And but this kind of new mentality, what sort of things, what sort of attributes, and are we redefining, so to speak?
I think one of the great things that's come from this really tricky, difficult year has been a focus of the people of Hong Kong on Hong Kong. The exploration of people's own city. I think Hong Kong people had a habit of kind of thinking, well, we're in Hong Kong, it's great, we can explore all over Asia, we can explore all over the world, but I think Hong Kong as a city will benefit from that inward focus just through this period of time, that sort of period of reflection and that period of overcoming challenges. And I think we've got so many talented people, from designers to technologists to to entrepreneurs and across, and how those people have come together to tackle some of those problems. It was always here, it was always within Hong Kong, but I think what we've seen is an acceleration of innovation, if you like, because we've had problems that we needed to overcome.
So what you're saying is the COVID is only jump-starting, catalyzing, the transformation, because the city forever is changing. And are there any kind of methodologies or any framework that can help people to ease into the position? because it's almost like you have to survive. Otherwise, you don't even talk about growth. Okay, so any take on that? How do you ease people into really preparing well for the new normal?
Yes, if that talent and capability isn't here within the city, it's very difficult to create that. But what we've seen in the last 6 months or so is all of that capability, all of that collective spirit, pulled together in a more intense, I suppose, a more intense, focused way, because there have been particular problems to overcome.
So one thing that we've been doing is the methodology called KNOT, K-N-O-T, to think about K being knocking on the needs of the people.
Oh.
Needs is finding or distilling their needs. O being originating ideas together, and T being trial. Because I'm sure in this, I would say in this fluctuating condition of the COVID or upcoming crisis, we do need a lot of trials. So I think we should unpack the mindset of getting as much trial as possible so that we can understand all the errors and what are the best and most appropriate solutions for the environments around us.
Wow, that's nice. I think it resonates with what Elaine talked about, even the city becoming an innovation lab, so to speak. But Sarah, maybe tell us a little bit of your projects, to substantiate, the approach of work and the methodology not that, you just elaborated.
Yeah, sure. One project that I would like to share is a rooftop play space in Tu Mun district. So that is called Siu Hei Court. And this is an interesting 40,000 square feet play space. I think it was the third attempt we had with the same client to regenerate this defective play space into intergenerational multi-purpose space for everyone around the community. And so during the process, of course, we talked with the client, but at the same time, we started to engage the students and the people in the neighborhood so that we start to know what they like to play, what they're actually looking for, and then we actually do co-creation with them. So I think it was interesting because it was completed during the COVID-19.
I think that's very wholesome approach. Elaine, along that line, can you share some of your maybe examples, can demonstrate the importance, the need to have collaborations and trial and...
Yeah, I mean, one of the recent projects that's completed last year was a project with UBS. I mean, they're very well known for the art collection, but as actually one of the very first projects, they've invited designers to collaborate with their data research lab. So it's a very rare opportunity for designers or any external members of UBS to able to work with the collected data. They sort of really understand that design can be a really good form of communication tool to transform such sort of mundane sort of messes and data in Excel files into something that's more digestible. So we create a couple of interactive installation that reflects the data that they've been collecting worldwide between 2016 and 2018, looking at air quality around different cities. So then it opens dialogues for their customers and potential clients to understand the change of data and current climate. And of course, I was really pleased that I was taking part as a pioneer to represent Hong Kong to work on this project, because it took a long time for us and them to decide, yes, this is a design project and this is not just an art project, because there's a lot of design engineering involved. The entire installation was 3D printed and it's in human scale. So we had to finesse that, and we have to collaborate with engineers, of course, and then sort of programmers, and of course jack-up weaving. How do we integrate hard and soft, from soft in terms of program engineering to digital textile design to physically make that. And everything's produced in Hong Kong, and that's an important demonstration as an example. A complicated engineering piece can be designed and made locally from Hong Kong because we have the resources, the talents, and people willing to collaborate. So when people ask me what is a good example of our studio do as a collaborative project, I always sort of thought this is a very good example.
So I guess good designer always need good sponsor. So I think it's quite phenomenal that you're right. The UBS actually see this as a design challenge, and the approach could be more integrative, rather than just the artistic, manifestation, of the project, so to speak. So I guess, do you see this type of projects be coming forth more?
I'm hoping to see more and more projects like this that generates from Hong Kong collaborations between corporate and designers, and brands can take designers more seriously and not just a marketing tool, because there's a lot of technology that we can deploy and create to harvest the conversation, data and interest. And I know that because of this project, it also inspires more creative to open their own labs in Hong Kong.
Yeah, I hope that this is a real trend, that's going to come forth more frequently.
One thing that I guess we should definitely push forward is not only cross-disciplinary collaboration, but I would say cross-sector collaboration, because we cannot just do something from bottom up, but we actually need collaborations at different levels, so even from the government sector to the private sector and even NGO and institutional sector, how we can actually work together to find out solutions, because all the problems nowadays are so complex. We cannot just serve it or to solve it by one profession. So I think it's really time for people to get together, not necessary to be physical, we know now. So it could be even Zoom, online, but as a mindset, we should work together to find a problem.
So what should we do with all these silos or verticals? Because everyone is kind of trained with certain specialty, right? And but we need this interweaving capability to integrate things together.
I think when we pitch to clients, we also like to remind them there's always multiple ways of doing things. That's the fantastic thing about design, If you only go by the book and they set a rule of how to design one thing, then there should only be one designer or one institute in the world.
I think, again, if you've got the capability and the talent here, and the need is there, then you see that adaptation. You see that pivoting, and technology helps a lot, I think, in this current period. I'm a great believer that technology is an enabler. Technology follows the design, almost. Technology enables us to do things with design that maybe we couldn't have done in the past. And we've seen a couple of examples in the way that the organisations have dealt with challenges. Shopping malls, have really been hit hard. Hong Kong is a city of shopping malls. People love to be out and out of home and inside the mall, but suddenly that footfall's fallen away, and that impacts a lot of people. A lot of malls had started to develop digital platforms, and what we saw in K11 Musea, which opened just before the COVID period, a different level of experience, a different level of being able to connect with their audience. A different level of being able to work with that audience without them needing to be physically in the mall. Their digital platform that spans a multitude of different touch points just really enables people to feel connected to that brand. You can argue that K11 Musea opened at the worst possible time for a mall to open. I think their brand will benefit in the mid to long term because of the connection that people feel to it.
Yeah, but to do that, it really requires a lot of coordinations and not just mindset changes. So I guess when you serve clients, in the region, I suppose, do you see any emerging trends coming forth? Rather than the client is still working with the past mindsets? Or?
The last 20 years have been amazing in this part of the world, generally. For Hong Kong and the broader region, we've had high growth, high economic growth, and we've had a lot of brands, a lot of businesses just growing into that kind of growing economy. They haven't really needed, arguably, to be as innovative as they could have been. What we've seen in this last period is that this realization from organizations that they need to work harder. They need to take on some of these challenges, but within that is a huge opportunity to be different, to not just take advantage of the high growth economy, but actually work harder to develop distinctive, disruptive experiences, big or small. At a city level, at a kind of big brand level, but right down to small individual entrepreneurs that are just trying to do things a little bit more interesting. And I think the retail, the F&B, other sectors within Hong Kong will emerge from this far more interesting and far more vibrant and dynamic. Hong Kong will emerge as a far more, even more dynamic place than it was going into this period.
So I suppose that with yourself, having been in Asia for such a long time, and how do you see the role of Hong Kong? Presumably your work is not just in Hong Kong, right? It's all radiating out. So what is the changing role of Hong Kong in the new Asia perspective?
We're still a centre of gravity from designers and technologists and entrepreneurs. We have 9 universities within this very small compact space that's producing a lot of very capable talent as well. And I think Hong Kong has a strong role, not just within the GBA, within the Greater Bay Area, which is an enormous opportunity in its own right. Not far off 100 million people within a couple of hours of Hong Kong.
Sure.
So there's a big role to play there, undoubtedly.
Yeah, I do think the GBA actually helps like Hong Kong designers or our new ideas can spread out and have this upscale effect. Because a lot of times, even during the past 6 months, we understand all the problems happening in Hong Kong. It could be actually common in other parts in the GBA
Sure.
area. And because we are, all the metropolis actually share the same burden. So as long as, like Jonathan said, if we stay agile and stay disruptive, and then if we make new proposals, this could actually be adapted in so many areas for testing. So I could see a lot of potential of sharing this new belief or new normal of way of living to other parts of the region.
Yeah, so in your project experience, I guess it's easy to say, with all these disruptive technologies, a lot of changes coming forward, but institutions or enterprises run on their own inertia sometimes, okay? Do you have any kind of advice on how companies or people, can create more spaces for at least some innovation to happen?
I think currently a lot of people, they start to realize their locality and districts. So people start to talk about place branding. So we are not doing everything globalized, but we would say glocalized. So how to combine the global thinking with the localized quality or characteristics of each neighborhood or community. I think that will be a good way for entrepreneurs or institutional thinking to chip in. So maybe we could start with a smaller parts, like a district, like a block, so that if we start with place branding, you start to connect the people around you. So the ripples of the effect can actually last longer or being more impactful.
I see.
I'm actually working on a very exciting project at the moment. Clients is in Switzerland, but factories based in the Philippines, and we focus on working on natural materials byproduct. So saying that so everything that might be end up going to landfill, so like eggshells, porcupine spines, mussel shells, things that are used in the food industry, and because there's abundance of them, people don't know what to do with them, they will end up in the landfill. And what happened at the end, methane gas. So it's bad for the environment, what they thought everything can decompose, but actually creating a decomposable environment is expensive. So then it ended up harming us. So then we're creating a new design project. They're looking how can we create a material from these materials, but we're looking at entire ecosystem and supply chain, not just as how can we create this sort of marketable small product, but how can we actually work with all the supply chains as a whole. So I think that's also demonstrate one great thing about Hong Kong is Hong Kong is in a really good position that we can connect into multiple cities even with this current pandemic, because my work has not stopped throughout this time because technology is so great, internet so stable, so that really helped the work keep going. Because people in Hong Kong are very agile and adapt to a new environment very well. So it actually allows us to create new experiments and little pockets within our locals area a lot. So I think don't afraid to fail during this time, because given what we've been hit, I think we just have to be brave and roll out our creativity and work together.
So is this never stopping, you keep innovating, even trying to find new way of doing things.
That's why people say Hong Kong people never stop. So.
Yes, I guess so. So as far as city branding goes, and of course we can go the traditional way, selling basically what we're good at, what sort of good things that we have, good places that we have. But going forward, what kind of narratives do you think that can help us build a city that will be well loved, by the citizens and by the people? So I guess, by asking, a question like this, we can challenge ourselves, on the types of infrastructure, the types of products, services, or experiences that we can bring forth to the city. So would you like to, give some inspirations on that?
Yes, I would say people-centered and also being proactive will be our common keywords, because what strikes us most is all cities, not only Hong Kong, but the world has been reacting to COVID-19. But it actually reminds us and taught us a hard lesson how to stay proactive. So I think that will give us a big push in how to improve all the infrastructure, how we should think creatively to prepare for the next wave or to prepare for the other virus or epidemic. I think that's something that we should pursue as a new mentality or new normal.
Well, I totally agree with Sarah's point of view, because it's really important to show characteristics when you come to the city, and people are the characters of the city because we make the city.
Fantastic. So Jonathan, talking about the brand story, we all know the city branding is more than just how it looks, okay? It's how it feels and how it manifests, the whole entity, so to speak. So as Hong Kong going through the transformation journey, what's your advice, on the city branding strategy?
I think, as you say, Edwin, any great brand is fundamentally built on purpose, or a purpose-driven brand, a purpose-driven organisation, and talking more generally, will always be the strongest. And the same is true of place branding or city branding. It's how it makes you feel, as you say, that's so important. And that feeling comes from, as Elaine was saying, really comes from the people within it. We have loads of great hardware. We're very fortunate to, here in Hong Kong that we have incredible hardware, but it's the software. It's the people, it's the spirit, it's that resilience, it's that adaptation to change. You just feel that. You feel that buzz, you feel that energy. And I think that's what makes Hong Kong, from a brand perspective, so special.
So I guess, the big part of this festival is about, different cities, coming together, to share experiences on what to do and how best to prepare for the new normal. So what are your takes or advices, for the rest of the world, to learn from the designer in Hong Kong?
Following on from that, really, Hong Kong never stopped throughout this whole COVID period. The city adapted. The city adapted, and I think it was able to adapt because the community as a whole, the city as a whole, pulled together from early on. I think for the city to design its way around the challenges and design solutions around that on a number of different levels. And I think there's a lot that other major cities around the world can learn from how Hong Kong has behaved, acted, reacted, and learned together. Through the last 6 months or so.
Well, certainly we have learned quite a lot, from each other, and hope that the audiences would get a sense, of how in Hong Kong our city, has increasingly deployed design, to create interesting new experiences, for every one of us. So welcome you, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yes.